Why Govanhill? It really comes down to a love of the place. From a creative perspective, I came to the point where I needed a project. As a student 20 years ago, I had been shooting my assignments in the area because it was where I lived. A photographic career followed that took me around the world, all sorts of places that opened my eyes and my mind. What I quickly realised though, was it wasn't the places themselves that I loved, it was the people. Interactions, shared experiences. You don't need to travel for that kind of fulfilment, it's on your doorstep. You just need to be open to it. The project is a celebration of humanity and diversity. Govanhill is a small area, around a mile square, but it's estimated that 60 to 80 languages are spoken within the community. My aim is that these images form a portrait of the place, a place that I'm very fond of because of the people. When I present the portraits, I tend just to use the subject's first name rather than present their life story. Sometimes there's a hunger from soap opera society to have the dirt dished or reveal struggles, but that's not what this project is about. People are like diamonds, multifaceted. I wouldn't want one negative incident in my life to be used to represent my entire existence. Life can have really tough moments, but even in the hardest lives, there are moments of profound joy. The formation of these images is very much a collaborative process that begins with a wander. I clear my mind and I walk. During that walk, I might see someone who I think looks fantastic. Maybe it's an unusual coat. Maybe it's the way they walk. Maybe it's their hair, just something. I then approach the person and introduce myself. I tell them that I'd like to make a portrait and explain why. After that, it's entirely up to them. I think people get a sense of who you are very quickly, and it's important to be as open and as honest as you can about your intentions. Sometimes I show people my work, and that helps communicate the style of image that I'll make. I show them the platform the work will go out on. They follow me, I follow them. If the work's going to be published in a book or a magazine, I go back to the individual and I ask how they feel about that. Some of my portraits have been exhibited in space, and that's an amazing experience for the subject. But maybe it's harder to be displayed in the window of a cafe that you and the people that you know pass every day. So it's important for me to collaborate, not just at the stage of making the photograph, but to try and maintain that relationship throughout. It has been said that my portraits are gritty. It could be because they're in black and white, but I think mainly it's because they're unfiltered. We're quite used to, in this social media age, of images being presented heavily filtered. And my images aren't like that. They're shot on film, they're processed, and they kind of are what they are, how the person looks. But I think that also helps make them relatable. People relate to them because there's an honesty in them. Apart from what would be done in the darkroom, darkening some areas or lightening some areas, there's really nothing done to them. Over the years, Govanhill has had its fair share of bad press. Like anywhere in the city, it has its problems, and those that live here know that best, but it's also an incredibly vibrant and exciting place. I started producing photographic newspapers, limited editions, 100 copies, signed, but what I did was I would drop them in cafes and shops and post clues as to where you would get one on social media. The idea was that you had to come into Govanhill to pick up a copy. The papers were free, but you had to make an effort to get hold of one. You had to experience the community. And while you're there, well, you might spend a bit of time in the place. Maybe that will change your opinion to what you may have heard on the media. In that sense, the papers become much more valuable than the ink that's on them, because they can trigger change and a little thought in your mind. And that is when art becomes powerful. Why black and white? It's funny, people do ask me, can I not afford a colour camera? I do get asked that sometimes, and in some ways there's a bit of truth in that, because I shoot in a medium format camera, so digital medium format cameras are a fortune, huge amount of money. But I've been photographing this project in this way for 20 years, even though only recently I kind of went back to it maybe in the last 4 or 5 years. So I'm someone who likes consistency. So I started this project when I was at college, and I'm photographing and processing, printing in my bedroom in Govanhill. So nothing's really changed, and it's the consistency of doing that back then in black and white film that's carried through using the same camera. So that's the main reason for black and white. For this street level Photoworks exhibition, the portraits will be displayed in windows within the community. They'll form a photo trail where people that want to see them will have to experience the place, walk the streets of Govanhill, a little bit like a treasure hunt. There was a quote that I heard a photographer say, Mark Steinmetz, and I think it relates to how I approach these exhibitions, but also what draws me so much to shooting here. He said, "You never find treasure in a mowed lawn. Govanhill may be a little rough round the edges, but put the work in and you might find gold."